This journey will guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah, we hide.
Welcome to Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh. This is episode 5, and as you can see, I'm not in the usual studio. I'm actually in Zurich for the UCI Road and Para World Championships. Of course, I'm not on my own. I am joined by co-host Matt Smithson. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful today, mate. I'm working hard in the office while you're in holiday mode with everyone.
I have to say it's been a pretty cool couple of days already. I'm in the MyWhoosh team hotel, but I have to say there's quite a few other teams and riders here as well. So you might see some riders scooting around the back. Obviously, I've seen the guys from Turkey rolling out this morning on a recovery ride or a recon ride. So as you would imagine, Matt, Zurich is just buzzing with cycling at the moment. It's like a festival feeling. And down where we're in the fan zone. It's a really cool setup there, lots of different brands. We're there as obviously main partner with UCI for the Road and Para Worlds as well. So yeah, I have to say, it's one of those times when it doesn't feel like work. There's a few members of the team are here as well. I have to confess, I've not been out yet, but I can tell you, Lisa's been out on the road with a couple of other members of the team. And I think the other members of the team are suffering a bit more than Lisa is.
Yeah, I got sucked into that with Lisa here a couple of years ago. She came over for the Grand Fondo and she said, let's do an easy hour at Yas Formula 1, and she tore my legs off for an hour. So, yeah, I believe one of them went out with flat pedals on this morning, copped about 1,000 metres of climbing and is laying on the bed in agony at the moment that Lisa's tore them to pieces, which is great. Lisa rides really well. So it's good everything's happening over there. I can't wait to get over there. Bit of luck, I'll be there on the weekend with you all. I remember I was at Wollongong in 22 for the World Championships that Remco won, and that was an outstanding event. I believe Zurich will be bigger and better, possibly because MyWhoosh are on the ground over there, and I saw that there was a big MyWhoosh sign behind Remco a number of times on the television and in the interview as well. So it looks like we've got a good presence out there, which is fantastic, and can't wait to get over there.
It's an awesome feeling because I've had a good walk around. I've been over to the start finish area, and MyWhoosh is everywhere. So there's a real buzz, but it's not just that. Obviously the branding everywhere. But I was here for the weekend as well. I was here on Sunday, and the place is buzzing with people. As well. We had the junior races. Of course, we had the elite time trials taking place over the weekend as well. So Remco went and did it again, of course, and Bart's here as well. So he was a happy man on Sunday. And that picture I thought was really cool with Remco and Garner and Affini either side of him as well. I'm not sure if you saw that picture, but super cool. But just having the community here, Catherine Furu was here as well over the weekend, so spent a bit of time with her, which was great. A couple of the community members have been over just to say hi as well and shake their hands, which has been really good. But of course, there's lots of people coming over and saying, hey, this looks awesome. How do we get involved? We've managed to get people on the bikes here as well, because we've got the turbos with Elite, and we've got a couple of Colnagos here. So plenty going on. On that theme as well, Matt, on the weekend, we're going to be doing the Flanders Classics rides again. So all weekend in the afternoon on Saturday and Sunday for the community, we're doing these 500-metre short events. So you can kind of get involved. The riders here are going to be doing that as well on the turbos that we've got. So if you're at home, you want to get involved in some way, all afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. I think they come up as Limburg Classics on the events panel. Open events, 500 metres, short and sweet. I watched them the last time they were going on, and the same riders were just repeating. So it's a great way also if you want to do some sprint intervals doing that. And if you're here Saturday, we'll get you on one of those as well. Maybe we'll have a little team competition for that 500-metre effort.
Sounds a good idea. And Bart can't gloat too much because it's 1-1. Australian women. Grace Brown won the women's time trial. So Bart can carry on all he likes about the Belgian men, but we've got the Australian women. So it's all happening, and then we've got build up to the weekend. But you missed SRC as well. That was an exciting event on Sunday. I've got a great story out of SRC for today. It's good. It's great to see what's happening with MyWhoosh. It certainly feels like there's a bit of a groundswell happening now. Being at events like this, we will be doing more of this in the future. We'll be on the ground at some things coming up into next summer, certainly in Europe. But we're really gearing up for a lot of this stuff. We need to understand that we need to be part of the cycling community as well. And hopefully being on the ground, everyone's seeing us, having a chat to us, and any of the community that rides, come down and have a chat. And I'm happy to sit down, talk to anyone over the weekend.
Yeah, well, I look forward to listening to that SRC story. But you're right, we're going to be in Saturday. I can tell you, last Saturday and Sunday, or the Saturday and Sunday just gone, was super busy. And I imagine it's going to get even busier over this weekend as well. So, yeah, absolutely. But come on then, because obviously I didn't race SRC this weekend. So I know that I heard rumours, because I was watching the team chat, that something was happening with you early doors.
Mate,
but then I'm not going to give anything away. But then I saw the results. So go on, give us the background. I don't even know what route it was this week. So.
Wollongong. We had Wollongong, and I like Wollongong, and I love an early breakaway. And I saw that Brian and Ola were away early on the first climb. They got only a small gap, and I thought I'm just going to jump across. Did that. I'm also known for actually going well above my limit until there's not a lot left. Unfortunately, I judged that very, very poorly. My limit's about 40 minutes at the moment. I got about 45 out until I started cramping. But at that stage, we were 2 minutes up the road, and I thought, I can hang on here. I can actually hang on for third, no problems at all. The cramps got worse. I got slower, and I literally got caught 80 metres from the line and ran seventh. But that's not my good story. That's just my usual story. I was talking to Brian that runs one of the other podcasts. I can't remember what it's called now. It's terrible of me. After the race, because he actually won Category 4. And he was sending me a video of the animations of MyWhoosh, and that the riders look exactly the same as the Yates brothers when they're out of the saddle. And so he's done this awesome clip on YouTube of what the avatars look like climbing out of the saddle next to the two Yates brothers. And it's identical, right? It looks like we've exactly modelled them off the Yates brothers. What's so good about that is I know who they were modelled off and how it was done. So what I'm going to say here is they were done for me at the MyWhoosh Championships last year.
I knew this.
Yeah, we videoed me. And so a couple of things. I just look like somebody that's eaten the Yates brothers, but rides exactly like the Yates brothers. So this is the best thing that's happened to me since I've worked at MyWhoosh. So yeah, if anyone wants to know where, why I'm such a good bike rider, it's because I ride just like the Yates brothers.
I'm going to look out for your LinkedIn profile being updated with that story and adding that into your experience moving forward.
It's hilarious though when you look at the avatars. I'm not the most flexible aerodynamic person in the world, and when you see them side on, they've got this little kink in their upper back. I also know where that came from, because the guys literally took it exactly, because I ran the whole championships in our lab last year, here the 6 or 7 days or whatever it was, and they videoed the whole thing and then used those animations in the game. So anyway, I'm just waiting for a call from one of the teams now that I ride just exactly like the Yates brothers.
So, yeah, just wait for that call. I mean,
I've
don't rush and make any hasty decisions yet, but hang on there.
Like all bike riders, mate, I've been waiting 30 years from that call. It's going to happen. Hopefully this next season's the season. I'm sure they're looking for an overweight near 50-year-old, but look, who knows what can happen in this sport.
Well, there's always masters racing. There's always masters racing, right?
I think my days of outside racing are well behind me, mate. I've got my MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club to look forward to.
Well, you mentioned the Yates brothers there, of course, and we have had an opportunity here to interview a couple of the pros. And actually, I've sat down with Jay Vine yesterday. So we're going to take a listen to that. I want to prerequisite this, Matt, because this is my first pro interview. My first interview with a pro road rider. And I'm going to prerequisite because I was a little bit anxious. Of course, we've got pro producer Jeff here as well. He's done this 1,000 times with presenters and with athletes and so on. So I appreciated his steady voice of experience. But we're going to play that out now. So take a listen to this clip and you can give me all the grief and all the criticism you want after. But he had some really interesting things to say. Jay, thank you for taking the time. We're here in Switzerland, Zurich. It's the day after the individual time trial. I know you've got some mixed feelings, I guess, about yesterday. Do you want to tell us a bit about how that went? 'Cause you got the top 5 that you're aiming for, right?
Yeah, I mean, top 5 was the goal. It was sort of a last-minute goal as well. Like, coming into this race, I was only selected for it a month ago, less than a month ago. Like, day 4 of the Volta is when I got the call up for this race. So the goal, I basically decided literally 3 days ago when I arrived that the course is hard enough for me to aim for a top 5. I think that's pretty challenging, and I like to challenge myself. But yeah, not knowing exactly how I'd hold up in position for an hour after my injury in basque country was tricky. And, you know, I didn't have the best ride last year in Worlds. The course didn't suit me at all. To walk away with fifth is good, but it's still a bit heartbreaking.
A bit bittersweet at the same time, I guess. So.
Yeah. To have a bronze basically in your hands and then to throw it away is, not how I wanted to end my ride, and it was just a stupid mistake out of, you know, it was literally a half a second mistake on a non-technical part of the course that, like, we didn't even have a note for the corner. Yep. It was that non-consequential. So,
all right. Well, you know, the Worlds is not over for you. There's 2 more events, I think, coming up for you and your colleagues in the Aussie team there. So we've got the mixed time trial first of all then. So do you want to give us a bit of insight into that in your team? Because it looks like you've got a pretty strong team on paper.
We've got probably one of the favourite teams for the event. You know, like, we've come 5th last year, I'm pretty sure, and that was with 2 riders for the men because we lost one in the first K last year. So, you know, with the riders we've got me, Ben, and Michael Matthews, and then we've got Grace, who's just got a gold, and then Brody, who came, I think, 11th in the women's, and Ruby Rose. So, you know, we got the perfect women's team to really take on this course.
Yeah, no, we wish you best of luck with that one. So then you've got the road race on Sunday, and again, a pretty strong team for that event.
Yeah. I mean, the 8 guys we've got coming for this one is, it's going to be good. We've got a super strong team, and the course is really hard. Like, it's not Innsbruck hard. I think that's one of the hardest races in recent memory. But it's right up there. It's a Liège level of course, that's for sure. And, you know, 6.5 hours in the saddle.
Yeah,
I don't remember the last time I did 6.5 hours in racing. So, it's the distance is another level, and it's the world road title. You know, it's the most prestigious thing that we've got in our sport. So everyone's going to bring that end game, and there's a lot of favourites.
Yeah, it's a long list of favourites. It's going to be a full-on day for sure, and I know myself and all our colleagues are really excited to watch that race. You mentioned the Basque Country, and we've got to talk about the roller coaster year that you've had, right? 'Cause you had that crash in Basque, which looked pretty horrific for people like me on the outside, and I guess then you got the birth of your first child, and then you rock up to the Vuelta and walk away with the mountains classification. But why don't you tell us a little bit about that recovery process then? Because there's only 5 months in between that crash and you seeing those pictures in the hospital bed to then walking away with that jersey.
Yeah, I mean, it was like really hit and miss on whether, like, this could have been an all season thing right off.
Yeah.
But we were really lucky with the diagnosis at the hospital of, you know, you haven't got too much swelling, you don't need surgery, and I was able to be on the turbo within 4 weeks.
Wow.
Of getting, like, of the accident happening. I think I was on the turbo in like the second week of May. So that second week of May, I think I did 4 hours total for the week. Like, my first ride on the turbo was 15 minutes before I was like, that's all I can do. But to be able to be, you know, doing that within 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it was of the accident was, you know, pretty incredible. And it, like I said, it could have been so much worse. But I was then stuck on the trainer for, well, basically the entire time, because until July, the end of July, I was till the start of July, I was not allowed to ride downhill. So if I wanted to ride outside, I had to go uphill and then get my wife to bring me down. And she was heavily pregnant at this point.
Yeah.
So I would do a warm-up session of an hour and a half or something on the turbo, and then head outside for 2 repeats of a 1-hour climb or something like this, and that's how I was getting my training done.
Amazing. So you were spending a lot of time then doing training sessions or just riding long hours eventually on turbo? Or?
It was a lot of hours because we didn't want to put too much stress in the bones or anything like that. So it was just long tempo, steady hours on the trainer, both TT bike and like as soon as I was allowed, I was trying to get myself into my TT position on the trainer. So, because it's the TT is no secret. It's my favorite event. So, I really wanted to, make sure I could still do that. But yeah, it was lots and lots of hours, probably at least 7 or 8 hours a week on the turbo to come back.
Yeah. So then, that's accumulated and then into the Vuelta and picking up and walking away with that mountain shoes. That must have been an incredible experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I walked away from my son after him being alive for 36 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, had to leave to jump on a plane in Barcelona to fly to Portugal. So that was pretty tough. But we have FaceTime and all that sort of stuff. So I was able to still sort of be there, which was really nice. But yeah, compared to my form at the start of that race towards the end, like I came out of that race really well, and I was able to get the spot on the Australian team for the Worlds, which is what I planned for at the start of the year, but didn't think it was going to eventuate.
You got caught pretty late, I think, in the Vuelta, right?
Yeah, so the TT, I got the call up for the TT after day 3 or 4, and then the road race wasn't until the final 3 or 4 days of the Vuelta. And by that point, my form was starting to really take shape, and I was riding really well at the end of that race.
Yeah, and we got a Worlds in Europe now as well, so that makes it a little bit easier that the family can travel with you a bit, I guess, as well now.
Yeah, well, passports are still an issue, because we've just had a child. We've got to wait for a passport before we can move around too much. But they were able to come to Madrid with just the birth certificates. That was nice.
Yeah, nice. Well, I need to ask you about the Cycling Esports World Championships, because the Cycling Esports World Champs are coming up October 26th in Abu Dhabi on MyWhoosh. You've mentioned you've spent a lot of time on the turbo training. Of course, you are a former UCI Cycling Esports World Champion back in 22, I think it was, if I remember rightly. Talk to me a little bit about that pathway, utilising esports as a pathway. I know that you'd signed a pro contract, I think, before you did the esports, but it certainly, I think, helped to accelerate you in the sort of public eye at the same time. What's your view on cycling esports and indoor platforms like MyWhoosh as sort of an identification pathway for younger athletes?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a pathway to identify riders in conjunction with other aspects of cycling, like if you have a continental rider that's also identified through Whoosh of having really good numbers, that maybe they do a bit of cyclocross, maybe they've done some mountain biking as well. I think this is the perfect situation where that person, that rider, might be from Argentina or South Africa, Australia, for example, and not being able to commit to coming to Europe for 6 to 9 months every year. Maybe they've only come to Europe for 3 months twice in their life, and the rest of their cycling is all around their own country or around their own continent even.
Yeah.
To be able to, identify, okay, they can ride a bicycle, but they also have really good numbers, I think is a good way of using the whole package,
So those countries that are not traditional cycling countries in a way, or, it's harder to get out on the roads maybe, then you see that as opening up opportunities for new demographics and populations getting on the bike and getting into the sport.
Exactly. But also, it's a European sport. So, at the end of the day, you are still going to have to identify that you are going to have to make the switch and the move to Europe. And, you know, like, I think cycling's exploding in Asia at the moment. Like, I did some racing in the Philippines as a continental rider number of years ago now, and cycling was so popular there.
Yep.
So there is so much talent across the entire world. Isaac tells me that Mexico is loving cycling as well. Like, he has so many fans in his own country. So, you know, like, and I think they've got like 200 million people.
Yeah.
You know, compared to Australia, 27 million. It's like it's no comparison, the population sizes. So I think identifying the talent that's got in real life, and then using the esports platform as well in conjunction, I mean, the sky's the limit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about what's next then for Jay Vine. So I read a little bit. You know, you've won the Tour Down Under. You've got your top 5 in the World Championships. You wore the green and gold national jersey as well with the individual time trial. What's next? What's coming next? What's the big goal moving forward?
Well, I mean, I've got 7 race days. I think I've got 7 race days left for this year. So at Relay, Worlds, and then 5 Italian races. But next year, I really want to hit the ground running with hopefully a green and gold jersey in the time trial again in Perth.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't know my program or anything like that. I definitely want to have a good 2025. And yeah, now that I've got a child, it's every time I leave home, I want to try and make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned child there. I know you like traveling as well, and you like your cars at the same time. I think you've been on a few road trips as well. So how are you going to manage this moving forward? You know, do you take your turbo trainer out with you when you go on these road trips? How do you manage the training and the program when you're out there exploring at the same time?
Yeah, so I think the way, when we go to Australia, we're going to be doing, you know, with a kid, it's hard to move around, you know, if willy-nilly. You know, it's basically 2-hour jumps, and then you got to stop and feed and change and all that sort of stuff. So I think we've made a goal of, you know, 500 kilometer days in the car if we're going to move city.
Yeah.
Because it's all the same country in Australia. And we'll try and aim to do that on a recovery day where I only need to do an hour or so on the turbo. Because once again, also I need to have a turbo trainer in Australia just in case the weather turns to pot, or you know, it's it's late in the evening and I've got to knock out a session. So but also for the warm up in Perth for the time trial, got to jump on the turbo. So
yeah, great to hear. Well, we really appreciate you spending time with us today. Good luck on the mixed time trial and good luck on the road race on Sunday, and we'll hopefully speak to you again soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jay.
So, Matt, that was the interview I did there with Jay. I've got to say, Matt, he was, first of all, just a really cool guy, right? And when he first walked to us where we'd set up to film this, you know, I got mixed feelings how to sort of approach it, because it was that bittersweet yesterday, because he'd already said that he wanted a top 5, but he was so close, you know, and we know he loves time trialing. I mean, one incredible athlete as well, because he loves time trials, but he's bloody got on the mountains at the same time, you know. And you could just tell that there was that bittersweet aspect to it, because that bronze medal was in his grasp, and you know, I think you could see that he was really beating himself up, the fact that there's just silly mistake or whatever happened, and it brought him down for that as well. You know, the other interesting thing, Matt, I know you're going to ask me some questions in a minute, and you know, and so on, but he said afterwards that, you know, the amount of time he was spending on Whoosh, you know, literally went from 15 minutes to doing 4-hour rides in the saddle on the turbo on Whoosh. You know, maybe I should have asked him that question while the video was rolling, but you know, I relaxed a bit afterwards as well, right? And he's saying, look, I spent hours on there, you know, and if you look at his levels and what he's done as well, you can see he's put some kilometers on the platform in that recovery process. You know, but he was also talking about the interval training and so on, you know, the sessions that he did on there at the same time. But the other thing that really stood out for me as well was highlighting the importance of those harder to reach demographics. And those, like you mentioned Asia, for example, spoke about Isaac, for example, in Mexico. Of course, the UCI also have got a very similar agenda, because if we look forward to 2025, we're going to Africa, essentially for the Worlds as well, right? So you could see that this was almost like not a passion, but really important to him, that he saw this as a way forward of reaching those sorts of demographics.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Firstly, on Jay, I've met Jay a few times over the years, from back racing in Australia to some of the team camps and some things, and he's always struck me as a sort of guy that he loves cycling. He doesn't just ride his bike because he's good at it. Jay genuinely loves riding his bike.
Yeah.
And we forget, because we, even at my age, we put these people on a pedestal because they're better at these things than us, or they're famous, or whatever it is. They're just normal people. And Jay's one of the most normal of all of the pros that you'll meet. And I can just imagine how much he was beating himself up about what happened in that time trial, right? And I get it's difficult to have that chat with him. And you could even hear in his voice, he was still a bit down. But he's a super he's very level guy, Jay. I'm sure he'll bounce back from that very, very well and get on with what he needs to do. But what was super interesting that I took out of that conversation with Jay is he's talking about the pathways to road cycling, okay? Yep. And I don't disagree with him in any way, shape or form, but I have a question back on that. Is that what indoor cycling is always going to be? Is it always going to be a pathway to outdoor cycling? Or is it going to be a pathway to its own standalone version of cycling? Time will tell. And it's interesting listening to Jay, because it's a support mechanism, is what he's saying, and it's a support mechanism for what is the bigger part of cycling today. And he's exactly right. I'm not arguing that point at all. And it's not something that I've really thought about. Where are we framed in the future? Not just us, other platforms, everybody that rides inside. And how much does that transition over the years when road permits are harder to get? Club racing tends to struggle anywhere in the world at the moment, all of those levels. So is it always going to be a pathway? I think to a point, yes. Is it going to be a pathway to more professionalism in indoor cycling? I hope so, yes. But it's very interesting, some of the stuff that you've done with the new guys in the US that you've been talking to, and, Equality and
with the cyclone guys,
the cyclone guys, and getting in because, it's a free platform as well. And then I look at the sheer numbers of races we get out of Colombia and SRC. Colombia, is our most popular area. Now, they struggle to have racing in Colombia. We get some great results. We haven't got any real top liners in the men, but even in the women, we've had a few over the years. But we're finding that it's a pathway for them to race and earn a little bit of money at the same time. But what happens when we start to expand into Asia, into Africa? That is then, to me, where indoor cycling becomes, again, standalone, but a pathway at the same time. Am I making any sense?
It makes absolute sense, and I don't disagree at all. I think we got to contextualize this: the fact that I'm sat with someone like Jay, who has wanted to be a pro. That was his goal, right?
Yeah.
To be a pro road rider.
Yep.
But I don't disagree with you that I think will change in the future. This sport is going to absolutely evolve. And, I'm sat there having a discussion with someone who wanted to be a pro road rider, who spent a lot of time doing cycling esports, spent a lot of time on MyWhoosh, was, been a cycling esports world champion. That was a vehicle he used to, project himself into the media and the public eye and so on. But I think you're right. It'd be a really interesting question, because we're going to get a chance to sit down with some of these pro riders again later this year, and hopefully be able to play some of these interviews again. I think that'd be a really good question of, what do you think that the cycling esports, it's going to be up there, the level playing field as a separate, not a separate sport, but a separate discipline within the sport of cycling, like track racing is, like crosses, for example.
Yeah.
We might see some riders cross over, and certainly I know this last couple of years, on the men's side particularly, we've seen more riders cross over from the road into cross and so on, but it doesn't happen on the track, and I don't think it's necessarily going to happen on cycling esports. But my goal, my dream would be to have like my kid, 15-year-old kid, and other kids like that, dream to be the Lionel Vujassons, and the Jason Osbornes and the Jay Vines, that on the cycling esports side as well. And I can really see that becoming, for all the reasons that you said, whether it be the cost, whether it be the safety, whether it be just being able to access, road riding or track riding or whatever your chosen sport is.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here, you know me, I overthink things. I'm sitting here thinking, have we made the right decision for the Indoor World Championships this year? Because I have designed something that's taken away from the pathway to being a professional road rider. So I often say, and I'm sure Jay will pull me up on this if I see him in the team camp in October, I always say, I have invented something for this year that Jay Vine would not win. It was designed for the Jay Vines of the world to not win. And I've used that phrase way too many times. And I'm sure Jay will be upset with me about that at some point. But I think that this year we've got a standalone event. And that maybe makes me think, next year, do we go back to the classic road style event for 2025? Do we vary that each year? Do we make this a little bit different, like the outdoor road worlds are, where you get a hilly course, a flat course, a mountainous course? Like, is that something we need to look and vary? I don't know. I'm thinking off the top of my head at the moment.
It's an interesting comment, because I look at other sports, and I also, I've got 5 kids, Mike, and I'm a cyclist, a traditional road cyclist. I go out and do 4 or 5 hour rides on the weekend. I know you're from a very similar background. I'm the kind of guy who, over the last 20 years, have sat there with Eurosport on, or GCN or Discovery, and watched the whole day, of these grand tours, because I can see what's happening. I can tell you now, there's no chance I'm getting any of my kids to do that. They just wouldn't do it. They'd be bored, and we've got to, I believe we've got to make aspects of the sport condensed, more exciting, more interesting in a short period of time. Look at other sports. You're Australian, right? I'm an Englishman, so cricket is another example. Test matches, and then we've now got the T100 and so on. Golf, we're seeing the same happening, where we're getting these shorter form, exciting, accessible formats of these sports, and I think that's the role we've got to play in cycling. So my argument would be, Matt, when we have these discussions after and we sit down with those athletes in October, when we sit down with a tea or a coffee, after on the 27th, and discuss with these athletes, where do we go next, and gather those ideas. It's going to be really interesting, because I think this is a great format that you've designed for this particular one.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. I'm thinking really hard here at the moment on are we heading the right direction? I'm pretty sure we are, and the feedback's sort of given us that at this point. And we're building a lot of excitement in here towards this, and we're getting a lot of things back from athletes. And the final acceptances, I think, will be in by the time that this goes to air. We're getting really close to this. So I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to lead some direction for us in the future. Hopefully, we have some pathways for people to different things. It may not be road cycling. It may be track cycling. It may be mountain biking. They may come from those disciplines across to us. I think we'll end up standalone. How that looks long term, I don't know. I think over a tea or coffee, we will figure a lot of these things out late on Saturday or Sunday evening. After the event, and lots of time afterwards with some of the athletes and having a bit of fun. But yeah, look, it's just, at the end of the day, I want people to ride bikes, and that's what we always say. And whatever part that is, whatever platform that is, if we can form some small part of that community, then I think our job's done.
Well, you mentioned community there, and that's one of the other topics that I wanted to just touch on today, is community and community events, particularly because we talk about, we're 5 episodes in now, Matt. I can't believe it. Already got to that 5. But we've spoke about SRC quite a bit. But I wanted today just to highlight some of the awesome members of the community in those community events as well, because we've just renewed all the events this week. I'm not sure if you, because I know this used to be your job, so I'm looking after the events. We've just renewed the events now for the next 3 months with the MyWhoosh events, but we've actually started to remove some of those, because we've got this growing population of community organisers coming us through. So I'll talk about James first. With OTR, the OTR events. James has been working with us some time and doing the OTR veterans and Get Racing. if you want to get on the platform, and particularly, the Get Racing, I think is a really good place to start. They're limited, I think, to 3 watts a kilo for that race as well. So maybe you're not quite ready for SRC. I think the OTR Get Racing series that he runs on I think that's also a Sunday morning, if I remember rightly. That's one to check out. You've got OTR Veterans, which Matt, you and I could probably take part in. Those are Friday evenings. I think that is 7 o'clock-ish on a Friday night. I'm not sure if you've raced any of those yet, Matt.
No, it's too late for me because I'm.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
In
Yeah.
front. Yeah, it's midnight.
So we're playing to the European crowd there. I'm afraid at the moment. But what you could do, we've also got the Cryogen. They do the Fast Fridays.
Yes.
They've got 3 different time zones. So maybe that one is more for you, Matt. So that is 10:30 GST, 4 o'clock GST, 9 o'clock GST. That's with David Clarkson, again, doing a great job. They just been started a month ago, but already those numbers on that Fast Friday have been absolutely fantastic. So it's worth to go check out. It's just a few of these great community organisers.
Yeah, and there's more and more coming. We're in talks, as you know, with a big promoter to come on board and to do some, from community level right through to some very high level, and hopefully there'll be a bit of an announcement on that shortly. And it's great to see we're getting away from just being based around SRC. There's some big things coming here in this space. So you and I will continue to chip away on those and hopefully have something out to the public on what's happening with those in the next few weeks. SRC, because I know everyone listens every week just for this bit of information, I am desperately, everybody, trying to get 2 laps of this Zurich World Road Championship course in for this Sunday. Now it's just short of 2, because we're going to stick around at 45k and the 35 for the women's. And I just want to see everyone to see how brutal this is. I can't promise I can get it done. We're trying to test it and get approvals and segments and everything in a mad hurry for it. But it'll certainly give a taste. I can't believe Jay said he didn't think the course was very difficult. It is unbelievably hard. Maybe when you're 68 kilos like Jay, it's a different dynamic to when you're my size. But yeah, it's super interesting. So hopefully we can get that in. I'm also hopeful that we're going to run 6 laps of the UCI Stage 3 coming up for SRC, and I may even try to push for 11 laps of Stage 2 coming up for SRC.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one's going to be harder, so can't promise anything yet, everybody. I've got to make sure it works, and that's my goal. And for those people that see me out there on SRC, I would just want everyone to know I'm not out there checking on people trying to get you in a different category, or if you're trying or if you're racing or anything like that. Someone asked me this during the week, and I'm like, I'm out there because I want to race my bike. I am doing everything I can to hold the wheel in front of me. I don't know who that person is. I'm doing everything to hang on up that climb in Wollongong. Please, guys, don't back off or don't race properly because I'm out there. I'm doing everything I can to have a race. It's my weekend. It's my bike race.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I went for a ride outside this morning in a 36-degree 4 million % humidity day here in Abu Dhabi, and all I was thinking about was I'm going to miss this Zurich race because I'm going to be in Zurich this weekend. So everyone out there, I'm out there. I'm in between Cat 3 and 4 and all that. I'm out there racing as hard as anybody. I meet all the verification. I do all of that sort of stuff. If you drop me fair and square. If I cramp, if I can win, I'm going to win, guys. I'm not backing off for anybody, right? So I'm out there having as much fun. I promise anybody there is zero judgment for categorization or anything like that. Try to drop me right across in breaks. Try to do whatever you can. The system and the team look after that stuff. If people don't want me to race, it's no dramas, but I think it makes it, I can make it better. And look, I absolutely love it, everyone. So, race with me, race against me, try to drop me. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was kind of gutted I was going to miss the final because I did the 2 qualifiers this month. So I was like, brilliant. I could do the finals this week. I've got our team manager messaging me saying, you're up for the finals. And then I realised it was here. But now you've mentioned, and now when you first said the UCI routes, I was thinking of the cycling esports ones, but you actually meant the Zurich route that we've got in for Worlds.
Sorry.
So now you've said 2 laps of that. I'm kind of glad that I'm going to be on this booth with MyWhoosh for a couple of days during it. So you've got to keep racing as well, and so we can have these discussions. So basically what you're saying, Matt, is if you're using the emote and flicking your elbow, digitally. You want help. You're suffering. Just come
Yes,
through, give a
come
pull, and
through.
get this break going, right?
Yes, and I could give a shout out for one person I was in a break with that was ignoring my elbow for about 45 minutes on the weekend, but we won't mention any names. But just on that, the other thing I was just thinking about SRC, and again, this is something else we're really trying to do, is with the World Championships here on the Saturday night on the 26th, there's been some questions, are we going ahead with SRC the next day for finals? We are. So everybody that's not racing here at the World Championships, don't panic, we're still going ahead for that one. And the other thing I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to rope all the athletes in that are racing here to back up, race SRC the next day. I'm putting together a little event here, and I'm threatening everyone with finals to celebrate the World Championship endurance climb. So let's see how we go in getting all this together for October. But I'll teach them all for coming back to me and going, hey, how am I going to race SRC the next day in Abu Dhabi when I've done the World Championships? Well, I'm going to organise it for you, but you can do the endurance climb.
Can I make a request then, Matt? If this is going to happen,
You don't have to race that way.
maybe I'm regretting. No, I want. The thing is, I'm never going to be on a stage with elites like that, right? In the same race. Can I race alongside them at least in SRC? Although I'm in different category, I just want to be in the same environment. These guys are going full gas.
Look, if we get this off the ground, I think what we might do is have a little bit of a prediction of handicapping or something like that. We might have a competition out there for some of our followers on, we might send out some jerseys or some gift vouchers or something like that, that if they can nominate how many kilometres in it'll take Jason Osborne or Lionel or whomever it may be to catch you and I. So we might have a bit of fun with it. We'll do it live. I'm going to jump on one of the fully approved trainers that have come out of Elite that'll be left over from the night before. So we're going to try to organise something there. The Abu Dhabi Gaming Council have looked at helping us with a bit of space, I believe I heard this morning. So that's going to be on. So I think let's make a big thing out of it. Let's see if we can get the biggest numbers that we've probably had. Everyone's got to get their qualifiers in, don't forget. But I think we can have some fun with that day, the day after the World Championship, and then we can have a tea and coffee after that one.
Yeah, so October is the month where we've got to maximise it up for sure. So, yeah, we could have some real fun with that. Look, before we go, Matt, there are just two more community events I want to mention. Herd Taco Tuesdays, they've got their Saturday bunch ride as well. Daniel Watson, great organiser, go and check out those events. And then we've got a new race organiser just come on as well, which is Tim Perkin. Tim's been around the community for a long time. He's moved over to MyWhoosh, which is fantastic, brought a lot of the community over with him. He has kind of gone with the historical MyWhoosh, in the fact that he organises the Mountain Massif. So Tuesday, Thursday nights, mountain time trials. I think 12 kilometres. I forget where the first one is, the first climb, but I know Jabal Hafit is the Thursday one. It was 12 kilometres, but I had a chat with Tim last week and we brought it down to 8.1. So next Thursday, that's going to be down to 8.1 kilometres. But again, really tough climb, really great fun. No drafting on that climb, team time trial, so come and check out. Matt, that's going to be it from Zurich this time. Appreciate you joining again from a distance. Thank you to all your listeners. Don't forget, as always, like, subscribe, follow, tell all your friends about this podcast, tell all your friends about MyWhoosh, and we'll see you soon for another Inside the Ride.
On this journey we'll guide inside the ride where we fly.